Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Private Practice Owners Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Robin. New guest today, Jeremy Dupont. Jeremy is a physical therapist and used to own a cash clinic in Boston. He owned a cash clinic for 3 years. So he knows a little bit about sales, he knows a little bit about marketing, he knows a little bit about business. But what's really cool is he started a company called Patch Digital Marketing. And Jeremy's going to share with us a little more about what he does, how he sees marketing, how he used that marketing strategy to help grow his clinic, and how he's supporting other practice owners with their digital marketing. Jeremy, what's up?
Yeah, it's good to be here, man. I'm excited to chat. I know we're gonna kind of dive into something that's like really, you know, been the center of my attention for the last 6 months because this is what is working the best on the marketing side of things right now for physical therapists and local marketing and optimizing for Google Maps. So yeah, I'm excited to dive into it.
Nice, man. Well, I'm already convinced that you know what you're talking about at this point. But for the people who don't know you or why they should even listen, tell us a little more about like who you are, a little bit about your background, and kind of what you do and that kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. So like you said, I was working at a clinic, then COVID hit, and I actually got furloughed from that job and had to, kind of went self-employed. Started my own practice in Boston, and I went cash-based just kind of immediately, just because it was the easier thing to do, to be totally honest with you. And I got my schedule really busy, and that like one-on-one, like almost concierge type care
Yeah.
actually really took off during COVID, which is interesting. So. In 2021, I officially opened a clinic up in downtown Boston. I ran it for 3 years. We had seven PTs, two locations, and like you said, we were a cash-based physical therapy clinic, so I couldn't rely on physician referrals or hospitals sending patients our way. We really had to figure out the marketing side of things, and
Mhm.
I think like the local marketing where you go and you do events and injury screens and workshops and all that can only get you so far. And if you want to get to seven-figure plus clinic, you have to figure out the digital marketing game. And lucky for me, like I hired my first couple of PTs and kind of fell in love with the digital marketing side of all of it. And I was like, I would rather do this than treat patients. So I kind of took myself off of the schedule pretty much immediately and really dove into, email marketing, developing CRMs, and then, Google Ads and SEO, which is really the gasoline to growing our clinic. So did that fairly successfully, and then sold my clinic and now run, like you said, Patch, where we help other physical therapy clinics do just that. Our
Mhm.
main product of what we do is Google Ads and local SEO. And we do some email marketing, CRM building, things like that. But we're really here to just make getting new patients easy for physical therapy
Yeah.
clinics.
Love it. I love how you're the guy that's done the thing. You know what I mean? You're actually a
Totally.
PT, actually done the thing. So like cool. So I'm gonna kind of toss it back to you, man, because I'm here to learn. So I'd love to hear like what you got for us today. Like what do you want to share?
Yeah, totally. So I always start these, and for anybody listening, if anybody ever wants, one of these, I'm basically going to take Adam's clinic through like a local SEO audit, which what I would do for any clinic that's getting started with us. And I always kind of start these with just like a couple stats of 46% of all total searches that happen on Google have local intent to them. So like Google is where people are finding local service-based businesses. And within that percentage of searches that are happening on Google, 70% of people that are looking for local service businesses use Google Maps to find what they're looking for.
Mm.
And obviously, physical therapy, OT, speech, all of those things fall into that local service, bucket. And I think gone are the days of like trying to optimize yourself for page one of Google and just trying to get like your blue link website to show up on page one. What really matters now is showing up on Google Maps. And it's actually super interesting. Adam, I'll share my screen here. This is an article that Google dropped today that I was diving into, and I figured it was like super relevant for our conversation here. They just rolled out the integration of Gemini, so their Google like AI summary overview
Mm,
is now being plugged directly into Google Maps. So people can
mhm,
now have a chat-based conversation directly inside of Google Maps, which I think is going to significantly going to affect again how people are looking for a physical therapy clinic. Because just right directly in here, you could say, does this physical therapy clinic take Blue Cross Blue Shield? Do they do dry
mhm.
needling? Do they have pelvic health included with it? So I think these are just signs where I think traditional search is kind of going by the wayside, especially for people looking for service-based businesses. And again, that includes PT, OT, all of the above. Now, when I take a look at this, and obviously I just kind of showed you that, but the main thing that happened 6 months ago and why us at Patch we really started to change the way we were doing SEO is because Google totally changed what page one of like Google search looks like. So I have on my screen here, I just typed in Wiggins, Missouri physical therapy. And you can see like at the top of the page and what we call above the fold. So before you
Mhm,
scroll at all, you can see 3/4 of the page here are three Google business profiles and a big Google Maps. So
mhm,
that's why the 70 to 75% of people that are looking for local service-based businesses are going directly to this Google Maps here because it's just like what catches the eye, and this is where people are going to click. So before we were kind of optimizing for these websites that are down here, and it's still important to show up there, don't get me wrong, but you can tell that the most important thing now, obviously, I'm not
yeah.
in Wiggins, so ads aren't showing up, but Google Maps is the most important thing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Couple things that I don't like. I don't like how my Slidell clinic is the first link right below the map. I wish that was the Wiggins clinic. And I don't like how my clinic is, I don't know if you see on the map, but it's like not in the center of the map. It's like over on the left. I want it to
Yep.
be like right in the center. I want it to be big and bold right in the center. So,
Totally. Yeah. And there's
yeah.
different things that you can do. And we'll kind of like look at your website as we're taking a look at it. But,
Sure.
I think it's like, it's kind of interesting for like you and like kind of what I like pulled up here. And this is what we show in most clinics. And this is always like super helpful for people to visualize.
Mhm.
So basically what I have here is a heat map of where Adam's clinic ranks. And again, this is his Wiggins physical therapy location. And it looks like, Adam, you'll be able to tell me a little bit better, but I have a 20-mile radius for you here. It looks
Okay.
like people are probably driving a decent way to find physical therapy. And is that too big, too small? What do you think?
No, no, that's good. Wiggins is like the small rural town. You know what
That's
I
what I
mean? Like
figured. Yeah,
super
that's right.
small clinic and like people are driving in.
Totally. Yeah. So that's where the way we look at it is like clinics that are like in a dense city, we usually want a 1 to 3 mile radius of like where you're ranking. Suburbs, maybe you're a 5 to 10 radius. And then, places that are, fairly rural, we're looking at between a 15 and a 20-mile radius. So
Hmm,
basically what
hmm,
this map here is showing us is that whenever somebody types in physical therapy into Google Maps, this is these pins here are wherever somebody's located. This is where Adam's physical therapy clinic would show up. So you can tell like within a 10-mile radius, you've got this pretty much on lock, which is
hmm,
awesome to see. This is
hmm,
not the case for most physical therapy clinics, unfortunately. Usually it's dominated by an ATI or Select or something
hmm,
like that.
hmm.
But what I always like to look at and what we talk through with some of the clinic owners and part of what our SEO strategy is, is there certain areas where you would want to show up? So we could like scroll in and if we wanted to look at
Yeah.
maybe like Lumberton would be a place where you'd want to show up because it looks like
Hmm.
there's, maybe there's some homes there. You can see that, where you're ranking there you don't fall off the map totally, but you're in this like 5 to 10 range, and you may not be showing up in the top three there. So your SEO strategy could be like, how do we improve our ranking in
Totally.
Lumberton, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm, hmm. Yeah, the one city that comes to mind is Poplarville. I don't know if you see it with that 1212.
Right over here or
Nope, down in the middle, right
right here?
there.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like I have some competitors in that area that are pretty, they're pretty strong little private practice, Bright Steps, there they are right there.
yeah,
And
totally.
it'd be nice to like get some of those patients to drive over.
Totally. And this is like what you can start to look at too. A lot of this, like a lot of these rankings here does have like a lot to do with proximity. So as you start getting 30, 40 miles away, it is tougher to rank. But what we usually do on like a competitor analysis is we always see like how many Google reviews do they have, and you can see like this place they've only got three Google
Hmm.
reviews.
Hmm.
This one's only got one, so there's not a ton of competition here. So this could be very easy to beat out because Google
Totally.
reviews is one of the easy ways to start like taking that over. Where that would come into play is you would want to make sure that on your website you would have Popularville optimized for. So
Hmm.
again, like
Hmm.
on your
Hmm.
website, you can see like you have these location-based pages. These are where your three clinics are at right now. You could have a Poplarville location page on there. Even though you don't have a clinic there, you could still say we help residents from Poplarville at our Slidell location, et
Totally.
cetera, et
Totally.
cetera. Does
I
that make
like that.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is always something that we look at. And again, like, for you, I assume you guys are busy because this is, this looks really, really good. We can also do it for other services as well. So clinics that have multiple services. So now we can see like, I saw one of your guys' services was dry needling.
Hmm.
Pelvic floor PT is always one of those. If somebody's like works with runners, maybe gait analysis would be another service that we want to look for, pelvic health PT, et cetera, et cetera. And what this will do is it helps drive your local SEO strategy because maybe you crush it for physical therapy, but you're not on the map at all for dry needling or like people that are looking for stem wave or shock wave or some of those like higher ticket services. You
Hmm.
can see where you're ranking on the maps for that because people are going to want to find that service on the map and that's where they're going to go for it. So this is part of again, like I think the really cool part of it, and you can create an actual strategy around all of this. You can see where you're deficient, whether it's going to be based on the location or the service, and that's your SEO strategy from there.
Could you do me a quick favor and just type in pediatrics and see where we pop up for
Yeah, totally.
pediatrics?
It'll take me a second to to run it, but I can walk through what the rest of it will look like and so here I'll run this and then as it's loading for you. I think, the obvious question with all of this, right, is like, how do we improve these rankings? So say it doesn't look like Adam's map. You can see, again, Adam has had some solid SEO services done for him. Say, you're all red here or you're not
Yeah,
on a
yeah, yeah,
map.
yeah, yeah.
There's really three different things that you can do in order to improve this. The number one thing is updating your Google Business profile.
Hmm.
So again, I see, and Adam, I'd be interested to hear what you see, but most PT clinics, when they set up their Google Business profile, they just kind of like rush through it and they skip, 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 and don't fill anything out, and they just get it live, and then they don't ever touch it again.
That's boring work, man. We don't like to do that stuff.
Totally, yeah. But it's not the sexy stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And like Google like puts a white paper out every 2 to 3 months. And with anything involving Google Maps, optimizing your Google business profile is always the number one thing that's on there. And optimizing it right is obviously the easy ones where like you're adding the location in. So you can see here you have physical therapy and you have Wigan. So you're attacking
Hmm.
your location and your service that you're doing, which is awesome. You're going to want to make sure that that's throughout the description you're creating. But then are you filling out, products on there? Are you adding services on there? Are you updating photos every handful of months?
Hmm.
There's an ability to put posts on your Google business profile as well. And again, I foresee like one of the reasons why you're showing up so high here is like this is a super active account. You have a post 1 day ago, 3 days ago, 6 days ago. Like that's not very common with PT clinics. They're not often updating this or even know it exists, to be totally honest with you. So you need to make sure that not only is your Google business profile optimized with all of um, the correct like SEO terms on there, but it's active as well, and you're consistently updating it. The biggest sign for that is Google reviews.
Yeah,
Google
we're pretty big
reviews,
on that.
yeah, pushes. It's super, super important. I usually tell clinics 100 Google reviews is kind of the threshold of like what you need to get to. And
Hmm.
then again, Google tells us it's directly. Review velocity is one of the most important things that you can do here. So
Yeah.
not only do you have 100 minimum reviews, but are you getting 4 to 6 every single month
Right.
consistently?
Hmm. Hmm.
because that just tells Google like not only like you're obviously in business, which is important, but people are happy. People are continuing to come, and that's, Google wants to send its traffic to the right place because they
Right.
want people to come back to Google.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So this is where you look at Google Business Profile, one of the most important things for optimizing your map ranking. The other is what we call local directories. And this is really like the trust that you build with Google and really with like any LLM that's out there. So I know we're talking about Google Maps, but if we wanted to dive into like AI SEO and showing up in ChatGPT and getting mentioned in some of those LLMs, this is one of the most important things that you can do. So for you, you can see here like there's 37 business directories that you're able to be listed in, and you can see this audit shows that 27 of them you're missing from. And we can kind of scroll down here and we can see it really like it breaks down to two different categories. One of them is all of these like wellness based directories that you want to be listed in. So this would be these are DocSpot, WebMD,
Mm,
wellness.com, doctor.com, health grades. This is not something that we can like scan and actually see just because it's HIPAA protected and you're not able to actually see if you're in there. This is more so like, you want to make sure that you're listed in here. And I think I actually saw you guys were in here in health grades right here. Or no, sorry, that's Batson physical therapy. That was in there.
okay.
So
Yeah,
this
I
would
don't like
be
that 2.0 star. I don't know. That's not us.
right. That's yeah, it's not good for them for sure. But they're on there.
Hmm.
Not for the right
Hmm.
reason though. But this is again just showing like the importance of getting listed in here. And then you can see there's all these other business directories in here. There's Google Business Profile, which is like your
Hmm.
North Star. But then there's, kind of these random ones, right? Of City Squares and Foursquare and Hours.com and
Hmm.
MapQuest. And I always tell people like nobody's using MapQuest to find you anymore. Like people aren't printing directions out from MapQuest. But what AI LLMs do, what Google's AI Overview does, what Google Maps does, is when somebody searches for best physical therapy clinic near me, it scans all of these directories to see if you're listed or not. And if you are listed, it's going to verify that and it's going to trust that you're in
Hmm.
business. But if you're not there, it doesn't know if you're a legit business or even worse like when people move and they don't update like their address from a directory that's like a really poor trust signal to Google and it makes it really really hard to show up at the top of LLMs and on Google Maps. So this is a super easy one that I tell most clinic owners. Sure, it'll take time.
Sure.
This is part of like what we do with our SEO offer for our clinics, but this is something like we can pull this list and just show you like where you're not listed and you're going to want to make sure you get yourself listed there. It's an immediate bump.
Yeah, I would imagine like you just tackle that one at a time. Like if you make a little goal where it's like, hey, we're gonna fill out one new profile a week. Obviously if you were gonna like limited on manpower, but you kind of chip away at this over the long run. It's not like you have to like flip it all on its head in 1 week, you know?
Totally. Yeah. It's again, it's the long game and there's you can obviously look at them and know like which ones are a little bit more important too. Of like I always kind of actually scroll down here and like Chamber of Commerce is always a super important one because that's a local. Yellow Pages is a super important one. Show Me Local because it has that local intent. That's a super important one. Like Property Capsule, like I wouldn't probably worry about that one too much just because it doesn't have as high of a trust signal. So that you can pick and choose which ones you want to be in there and make sure everything is solid. So this is the second part, and then the third thing is just like kind of diving into your actual website and like what are like we call it technical SEO or like the core vitals of your website. The main thing that I always look at is what's called your authority score, and this is like your credit score for your clinic's website. The higher it is, the better off you're going to be. I always say like this number is out of 100, and you can see Adam's clinic's at 12. PT clinics do not get anywhere close to 100. Between a 20 and a 25 is really good, actually, for a physical therapy clinic. That's kind of in the range of where you want to be. There's a number of different things that go into this. The quality of backlinks that you have to your website, what type of pages you have on your website, what keywords are you optimizing for, et cetera, et cetera. So really what we care about here is this number being high, which will
Mhm.
increase this organic traffic number.
Mhm.
And what I always like to see, especially when we're trying to optimize for Google Business Profile, is we want to make sure that you're showing up for keywords like this right here. So the
Mhm.
second keyword that has the most website traffic for Adam's clinic is physical therapy Slidell. Um, which is awesome. That's like somebody typing into Google physical therapy Slidell, and his clinic is showing up. He got 100 website visits from that last month. What I often see here is clinics kind of optimize for keywords like how do I fix a rib flare or like
Yeah, yeah.
ACL exercises, and that might get them website traffic, which is nice, but it's not somebody in Slidell looking for physical therapy.
Right. Yeah, I've always I'm not a marketer like you are, but it's it takes some intention, especially for people who aren't marketers, to you're interested in what they're looking for, not what you think is important, right? And so like putting your like people don't know what rib flare means. It's not important to them. Like, but having a physical therapist in Slidell is really important, you know? So making sure you're optimizing for the things that are important for your customer and not to you.
Totally. I see it in like two different ways of like physical therapists like to flex on other PTs and like show how much they know, which is
For
awesome. Like I
sure.
think it's good,
For
like
sure.
flex that clinical knowledge. But, at the end of the day, you need to market to your patients, which have, like you said, have no idea what a pneumatic device is.
Right, 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 right,
Or something
right.
like that. And then like SEO agencies too. Like if they don't know anything about physical therapy, they're just going to go after the keyword that gets searched the most. And that might be how do I fix a rib flare? And they
Yeah.
can show up for that and they can get you tens of thousands of website visits a month, but none of that's going to convert into actual patients. So who cares?
Right. Right.
So that's super important stuff. We always want to make sure that your clinic is showing up for the correct keywords. Again, Adam's site looks really awesome there. And then the other thing is, this is kind of newer. This is like the
Yeah.
AI search side. And, we want to just like track and measure over time, how often are you showing up in AI? How many cited pages do you have? What is your AI visibility? Et cetera, et cetera. So these are all things that you can improve on now. And,
Mhm.
where we're seeing like SEO going is much more conversational based of like, you know, what does good physical therapy look like versus, best physical therapist Boston. Like people's like pe the way people search and like interact with like search models are just changing because it's just more interactive because you get that feedback from the LLM. So I think, again, SEO is going to continue to evolve over time. But
Mhm.
again, like I said, if you're looking to involve some of these map rankings here, the three things you got to do, optimize your Google business profile, make sure you're listed in these local directories and, get your domain authority up and make sure you're showing up for those local based keywords there.
Very cool. I know we're running a little short on time. Is there anything that you can add um, for just a little bit of context around like at what point is it appropriate for you to start considering paid ads and that kind of thing? Like when do you see when does that become important to consider?
Yeah, I think paid ads it's always a super interesting one. I think it's really about risk tolerance because the worst thing you can do is go into paid ads and spend 150, $200 a month and like not actually like, go all in on it and really like try paid
Yeah, yeah.
advertising. So that's super important. So I always tell people like, kind of the baseline minimum that you should be spending per month is $1,000 a
That's what
month.
I've heard
Like
too.
once you feel good about that and you're like, okay, like I know my back end systems, I'm gonna follow up with these leads properly. I have availability on the schedule. I'm gonna, we have this space to bring them in. Then obviously you have to get into like LTV numbers, like how much can you afford to pay for a new patient coming in? There's loads of things that go into it, but the first thing is, are you okay with losing $3,000 in 3 months?
Yeah, yeah,
And once you
yeah.
feel good about that, like, no, okay, I want to try this. I really want to scale and grow. That's when I think paid ads is a great place to go. My clinic. We spent 8 to 10 grand a month on paid advertising. Like we really ramped it up. We were in downtown Boston, so we had the search volume for it for sure.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
it's a great way to predictably bring patients in the door.
Yeah, when you know what you're doing for sure.
Totally.
Cool, man. For those of that are listening to the podcast, Jeremy did share his screen and show all kinds of cool stuff. You can check it out on the YouTube channel. There's probably a link in the show notes somewhere. Jeremy, for those who want to find out a little more about what you do, like where do they find you?
Yeah, you can go. I'm pretty active on Instagram at underscore Jeremy Dupont. I've got a podcast as well. It's called Jeremy on Marketing. Just kind of dive into the nerdy marketing stuff in the PT world, which is always fun. And then, yeah, we're at thepatchsystem.com is our marketing agency. If you want to learn more about us, check us out there.
Thanks, man. I appreciate your time.
It was great. Thanks.